Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Thanks for the words of introduction, and I'm going to take a minute to introduce from what background I come from. I'm a practicing gynecologist, and I work with 3 different types of organizations and institutes in the city of Mumbai. I work as an honorary gynecologist in the municipal hospital, where I get the most uneducated and those kinds of patients who are below poverty line, where my challenges are entirely different. Then I work in the middle segment where I am into my private practice and stuff like that. And I'm also attached to the so-called 5-star hospitals of Mumbai, such as Nanavati and Hinduja, where probably the most elite, most educated and most paying patients probably end up coming. I also have a degree of law, but unlike Dr. Milind, I don't really profess law. I use the knowledge of law for the social activities, like I fight a couple of public interest litigations around health rights, around patient rights and stuff like that. And that's what he was trying to mention about. That's the very famous case of Nikita Mehta, which all of you all must have heard of in 2008, which I fought for that particular patient for the abortion rights of hers. And you must have heard about this case, which I fought in the Bombay High Court. The reason for giving this perspective to you is primarily to make all of us understand a kind of a platform from where we are coming from. I do understand that telemedicine is a big subject, and when telemedicine is being used for the purpose of giving generic information, giving great penetration, making people more knowledgeable, etc., it's absolutely fine. If you are talking of telemedicine in terms of making people or giving people more choices, I think that's absolutely wonderful. And that's where the role of websites and organizational stuff, patient education, etc. comes from, because knowledge is empowerment, and the better penetration of knowledge is better empowerment of patients. And that's exactly what we are all about. However, I must draw your attention to the very important fact that at this juncture of time, I do not see, as a practicing doctor, a great penetration of concept of telemedicine except the field of radiology in any other branches of medicine. The practice of medicine is a very complicated practice because we deal with human beings who are very complicated. And on the top of it, those who deal with human beings are also human beings who are equally complicated. Now, a complicated human being trying to deal with a complicated individual in making or also understanding what is expected out of a given particular interaction by itself is a very difficult ballgame. We all have always said that medicine is supposed to be not only a science, but it's an art and science both. When we talk of calculations, when we talk of shares, when we talk of any of those kinds of things, when it's about mathematical calculations of 2 plus 2 equal to 4, the equations and calculations will not change irrespective of whichever part of the world you are into and at whatever timeline you are into. However, when you mix art and try to depersonalize the art, then that's where we'll end up with a problem. Very typically, if I'm going to use a kind of a technology and instruct somebody to draw a picture the way I would have drawn it, maybe he would draw a better picture or a poorer picture, but he cannot replicate exactly what is the thought process in my mind. And the same happens as far as the patient-doctor interaction is concerned, when it comes to clinical examination, when it comes to those kinds of aspects of clinical medicine which come out of experience and which come out of the touch of the hand, which unfortunately cannot be replicated in the telemedicine. That absolutely does not mean to say that I am very critical about use of telemedicine, because I do understand the world is moving very fast and we all have to move with the world, and telemedicine is one of the greatest opportunities for all of us to create the environment of patient safety and environment of and the culture of empowerment as far as our patients are concerned. But what I'm trying to flag up are the issues where we are going to have troubles when it comes to regulation, when it comes to accountability, and unless we understand the issues, we will not be able to solve the issues or the problems. On one hand, we have technology which is moving very fast. We have science of medicine which is moving very fast, and law is trying to catch up with the speed of the same. Let's try and understand what's the perspective as far as the health law is concerned in India vis-a-vis health technology as far as world and in particular India is concerned. For last about 5 years, we have been hearing that the artificial reproductive technologies, surrogacy, etc., is now very easily available, and we find that the law is lacking severely behind controlling that particular advance as far as the reproductive technology or science is concerned. And then you suddenly find some kinds of weird things happening, and there is always a big discussion that takes place in all the newspapers, etc., about ethics, about morality, about legality, and the fact is the law was never able to control these problems that existed, which were possible to be done by technology, but not possible to be done from the legal perspective or a framework. Try and talk of cloning and stuff like that. I don't think anywhere in the world the law has been able to catch up with the speed with which the technology or the science has moved. I am talking about the same issue of dealing with prenatal issues such as diagnosing problems with the fetuses by use of sonography, etc., which increase or which give different kinds of rights and perspectives to the whole paradigm of motherhood, and the laws have not been able to control that as well. Now to that, when we add one more dimension, that's of telemedicine, we are going to enter into a very difficult, problematic situation, and that's why it is very important that we also side by side think of accountability issues. I take a very simple example that in a resource crunch setting somewhere in the remote part of the India where a specialist doctor is not going to be available, maybe a nurse is going to be available, that person is going to take my opinion for the purpose of delivery of care. Fantastic, amazing, because otherwise there was nothing else which was available. That person would really not been able to handle that problem because I am not going to be reachable, I am not going to travel over there, so the specialist care will never be available. Absolutely fine, and that's why the role of telemedicine, where I am consulted on a web portal, on an internet, on a telephone, or maybe through a web conferencing, and my opinion is taken. Now what typically is going to happen, and that's what typically happens, is that the person who is delivering the care is not a specialist, person who is advising is a specialist. The person who is going to be the decision maker is going to sit far away, and he has a limited access to the information about the patient because the inputs are done by somebody else who is not a specialist. So what happens is, I am going to put a rider to the opinion that I have given, saying that, well, all this whatever I have told is subject to this rider, that I do not hold the fullest responsibility of this decision because primarily I have not interacted with the patient. I am only opining on the inputs that are given by somebody else. And who is somebody else? Somebody who is not a specialist, or who may not be a doctor for that matter. It could be a nurse for that matter. So this means that I am expecting a nurse or a doctor to be my ghost, to give medical care and also take the responsibility for the same, for which that person is not trained. So it is but natural and obvious that there is going to be a lacuna in terms of the service delivery, in terms of the standard, in terms of the quality that is expected to be delivered. Now on one hand, if we clearly understand that we are better than what we would have been had the telemedicine not been there, then we do understand that, well, that's fine. But if you are going to expect an equivalent amount of standard of care and try and compare that with this kind of a situation, then you will suddenly find that the person who is on the scene was not able to really reach up to that given standard, And ultimately, if he is going to be bashed, probably it's unfair. If I am going to be bashed, probably that is also unfair. And if the patient who goes to that particular center with an understanding that he is going to get at par kind of services, I think it is unfair to that person as well. So these are going to be the issues which are going to deal with the safety, with the accountability of telemedicine. And I am really interested in concentrating about this whole issue from the patient's perspective, more importantly so, because I am not interested, frankly speaking, about what the telemedicine companies are, what their stake would be, or how they fast and aggressive their marketing could be. I am interested in seeing that if my fellow countryman, who otherwise was not getting any kind of medical service, is now at least being given some kind of service, I am very happy about it. But at the same time, I must flag up those issues which come to my mind as a doctor